Satya is sick with cancer and has given up all hope of living, but she's determined to fix her karma. She sits facing her doctor, requesting to know how much time she has left. The doctor reveals that she has a year or two, which is under probability. She picks up her envelope and informs the doctor that she will have to travel and do something for her husband's sake. After having a swell time with the girls, Rup, Satya's acquaintance, gets back home to find Satya with her father. She expresses her dissatisfaction with Satya's ungrateful behavior towards her father, whom she has come to see. Their father takes Rup out to explain to her that Satya needs her to just stay with her in Husnabad for a year, as she will be expiring within that 1 year. Her father reveals that Satya is willing to look after her and her sisters until they are married. He attempts to convince her that contrary to her belief that he wants to send her away, he will never be able to get her and her sisters married just by teaching music. He leaves her to make the final decision, as it's all in her hands now. After thoroughly thinking about it, Rup walks over to meet Satya and informs her that she will live with her under the condition that Satya's husband will marry her. That is not what Satya is hoping to hear. She intends for Rup to get to know her husband while she's alive and not marry him right away. She's left with no other option than to give in to Rup's demands. For the sake of his wife, Dev agrees to marry another wife. Dev and Rup's wedding ceremony takes place in no time. In another part of Husnabad, a blacksmith, Zafar, known for charming Hera Mandi's girls, is receiving information about Dev's marriage to a girl in their town. He gets off the bed where they had just finished having an intimate time. Zafar walks closer to the window staring outside, and he's shrouded in thoughts, while the lady on the bed goes on and on talking about the partitioning of their community. After the wedding has been concluded, Rup waits in her room for Dev, who soon comes to join her. He informs her that his wife is the only reason why he agreed to marry another woman. Nevertheless, she will get all the dignity she deserves. Rup listens to him as he tells her not to expect love, or any more than he can give to her, if she intends not to be heartbroken. Zafar is at the blacksmith store where he works, and he's busy making some more steel swords when Abdul, his colleague who is like a brother, comes to him. Abdul talks about a machine that produces steel, and once it arrives, they'll be out of jobs. He wants them to do something about it and fight for a revolution, but Zafar reminds him that he can't join their cause as he didn't fight for his father's name, despite being an illegitimate child, so he has no reason to fight for the community. However, Zafar suggests that there's no better way for Abdul to spread his message to the people than using Balraj Shohri's newspaper. Abdul shares that he tried that route, but ever since Balraj's son came back from Britain, he has been busy publishing articles on One Nation, One Identity. He asks Zafar to hop on their side to carry out a revolution with blood and sweat instead of dialogue, but Zafar declines. He tells Abdul that he can only endanger his life for him, not the community, so he requests to be kept away from the affairs of the Shohris. At the Shohri's mansion, the family is having dinner and Balraj tries to discourage his son from publishing articles against partitioning, which is what the British intend to use in dividing the people into different religions. He believes that without the help of the British, their nation would be incapable of governing themselves. Satya is listening to the father and son argue about Dev's articles when the maid informs them of Rup's unwillingness to join the rest of them at the table. She asks the maid to take Rup's food to her room, while Dev excuses himself from the table. Rup is in her room, listening to a woman singing from a far distance when the maid brings in her meal. On her request, the maid reveals that the song she's hearing is coming from a famous courtesan of Husnabad by the name of Bahar Begum, who quit dancing and now teaches music. She further reveals that Bahar's Havali is located in Hera Mandi, one of the city's most disreputable areas. At Hera Mandi, Abdul shows off Zafar's work to Munshi Sayed, who is wary of Muslims and people of illegitimate birth. Zafar can no longer listen to the man speak ill about him. He rushes towards him and holds him by the collar, threatening to strangle him if he doesn't focus on the work being shown to him instead of his paternity. Over at the Shohri's home, Satya walks into Rup's room. She talks Rup into coming out and fulfilling her responsibilities to the family, but she refuses because she has gotten to realize that Dev has eyes only for Satya. Satya suggests she work at the newspaper company with Dev as it may improve her relationship with him, but Rup reveals she'd want to go back to her singing classes. Satya is stunned hearing her request to learn from Bahar Begum. She informs Rup that it's a no-no for her since she has insisted that's the only condition for which she will work at the family's newspaper. She walks away almost pissed, asking her to lock herself in her anger if that's what is best for her. Later that evening, while Satya is convincing Balraj to let Rup go ahead with her music lessons at Bahar's, Rup gets on the rooftop and stares into the nothingness of the night. Luckily, The maid comes to find her. She calls Rup out of her thoughts and informs her that Balraj wants to see her. Rup's stubbornness wins against the Shofri rule. So, the following day she arrives at Dev's office, just when they are about to round up the discussions on the recent challenges they are facing. She instantly blurts out an idea that will bring more input than the previous adverts they've been doing. All heads turn in her direction as she requests to meet with Dev. She introduces herself as Dev's wife. Dev and Rup have not seen each other face to face, so it's his first time seeing Rup, who still can't recognize her husband. He asks Anand, one of the employees, to show Rup her desk and walks out of the boardroom. Rup only realizes that Dev is her husband when she sees him entering an office with his name on the door. On another occasion, the caretaker of the Shohri family accompanies Rup to an infamous part of Hira Mandi. The people are going all about, preparing for the town's biggest festival, Dussehra. They walk in and Rup fills her eyes with the colors and beauty of the festive decorations. Rup walks into Bahar's court and finds her singing while her girls dance. Before long, Rup takes over the singing as she dances along with other girls in the court, while Bahar watches in amusement. After her performance, Bahar compliments her voice, but also notes that her voice lacks sparkles. She can tell that Rup is a married woman. Rup introduces herself and reveals that she wants to be Bahar's student in singing. The caretaker comes to take Rup home, and Bahar instantly recognizes her. She tells Rup to come back the next day to sing, and maybe she would like her voice again and give her a chance. As Rup steps out of the court, her eyes come in contact with Zafar, who comes around the court because of the unique voice he heard singing. He introduces himself and advises her not to run away from him, as he will keep coming closer. She remains silent as she also feels the connection between them. She continues on her way as though nothing just happened. The next day, Rup visits Bahar's court. She accepts the compliments from her and thanks her for reconsidering her decision to have her around. On her way out, she comes in contact with Zafar, who is watching her from a diner not too far off. He stares at her until she gets into the carriage. Something in him changes as he can't stop thinking about her, even after making out with one of his girls. He lays on his bed staring at the ceiling as Rup's thoughts fill his mind. Later that evening, Rup enters Dev's room to inform him of her intention to write an article on Hira Mandi. He grants her request and promises to print whatever story she writes that is worth reading. Afterward, he turns back to face the book he's reading. She understands he doesn't see her as his wife, and turns back to assure him that she's not expecting anything from their marriage of compromise, and he's free to end it all if he wants to. Dev thanks her for speaking what's in her mind, as he has never spoken about ending their marriage. The next day, Rup sets out to begin her work, and her first stop is at Abdul's. She gets to the blacksmith shop and gets directed to Zafar so he can take her to Abdul. He starts flirting and talking about fulfilling her desires, which cannot be fulfilled by her marriage. She already feels irritated, so she shuns him. Zafar points her in Abdul's direction, and when Rup finally gets talking with Zafar, she realizes he's unwilling to help with her article. Rup takes her leave, but Zafar comes chasing after her. He starts up a conversation with her, and in the course of their discussion, Rup realizes that he might be the best person to help with her article, as he was raised on the streets of Hira Mandi. He sees her off to her carriage, and he fixes a day for them to meet since she's willing to let him show her Hira Mandi. As discussed, Rup visits Hira Mandi, and she finds out that there is a contest. To her surprise, it's Zafar against a raging bull. She watches in fright as Zafar struggles with the bull until he finally wins and is declared the winner. After the contest is over, she goes over to meet him. By the riverside where he's washing up, she quarrels with him for inviting her over and risking his life. But he doesn't see gambling with his life as anything, and his replies further infuriate Rup. She angrily walks away, and one of Zafar's friends comes to give him his prize for winning. The more Rup is getting estranged from her new family, the closer she gets to Zafar. In her bid to untangle the riddle the world sees Zafar to be, she keeps getting entangled with him as they spend more time together, while he helps her with gathering stories for her article. Bahar spots a difference in Rup's voice, and she perceives that something must have changed in her heart. She watches over Rup on her way out of the court, and she discovers that Zafar has come to pick her up. Bahar suspects he might be the cause of the fondness in Rup's heart. Later that evening, Balraj walks into Dev's study to inform him of Hira Mandi's blacksmith, who has come to visit him earlier that day. He advises his son to give them a listening ear before they force the Muslims working with them to go on strike. Dev suspects there is more that his father is not saying, so he asks Balraj to say what he's holding back. At Hira Mandi, Bahar comes to visit Zafar. She requests that he spare Rup. Bahar understands that he is angry, and he's instigating Abdul to provoke the people against the Chaudhry's press. But all she wants is for him to spare Rup from being punished for the sins of others. Zafar blames her for Rup's punishment because she was the one who went ahead to get pregnant for a married man, had a child, and abandoned him on the streets. Bahar tries to make her son understand from her point of view as a 17-year-old girl in love, but Zafar is unwilling to go back on his word. His mind is made up to ruin his father's family by using their daughter-in-law as a tool. Meanwhile, at Chaudhry's mansion, Balraj admonishes his son not to destroy his relationship with Rup. He understands Dev because he was also forced into a loveless marriage with Dev's mother, and that was what pushed him into finding love outside. He shuts his father up and blames him for not respecting his late mother. He tells his father not to bother giving him advice on how to handle his marital relationship with Rup. After Rup's class with Bahar, she confides in her teacher, confessing how she feels about Zafar. Bahar cautions her to always remember that she's married, and she will never encourage her to cheat on her husband. Abdul decides to listen to Zafar's advice. He visits Dev in his office and tries to dissuade him from bringing in the steel machines. Their discussion didn't go in the favor of the blacksmith. Abdul brings up the subject of religion in the conversation and gives Dev a stern warning. Rup succeeds in convincing Munshi to give Zafar a chance, so she shows up at Zafar's base and gives him the offer letter. Zafar feels offended that Munshi must have gotten something in exchange. He informs her that he's not a charity case and turns down the offer. Rup explains how she got the deal for him, contrary to his belief that Munshi only favored her because she's Hindu. After the day's work comes to an end, Dev gets home and decides to look through some books in the library. He notices Rup struggling to get a book from one of the shelves. On his own accord, he gets up and helps her get the book she needs. They soon start conversing until Satya brings his tea. She spots them right from the door, so she decides to give them some space since they are beginning to bond. Balraj queries his son for his continued support for the steel industries in their paper. He fears that it will turn the people against them. Dev is pissed with his father, as he believes it's the only way to move their country forward. One day, Rup finds Zafar in a compromising situation with one of his numerous ladies. One of the girls walks over to her side and advises her to keep away from him. She turns around and gets into her carriage immediately without seeing him. The following day, Rup and Dev arrive at the office to find the Muslims protesting. One of his workers advises him to leave before something drastic happens. During dinner time at the Chaudhry home, Balraj suggests they might have to leave Husnabad as the quest for revolution among the Muslims is getting stronger. Meanwhile, Dev is insistent on not leaving. He uses Satya's condition as an excuse to still be in town. The following day, Rup comes to meet Zafar at his workshop. She informs him that she will be leaving Husnabad, and she goes ahead to talk about her feelings for him and her loveless marriage. He assures her that he has nothing but grief to give her, but she is still willing to accept it with all of her heart. He tries to convince her that his reasons for getting close to her are not because he's in love with her, but Rup's mind is already clouded by her emotions for him. Satya's condition keeps getting critical, and Dev ensures to be by her side. She tries to talk him into leaving Husnabad with the rest of the family, but he refuses. He wants to be by her side every moment left of her life, and he informs her that the doctor spoke to him about the possibility of finding a cure for her condition. Satya is unbothered as she lets her tears fall freely. She's content to have the opportunity to see the man she loves even in her expiring state. She makes him promise to give Rup her status when she passes, and to fulfill all their dreams with Rup since she won't be alive to fulfill them with him. Dev realizes that he's truly going to lose Satya. He becomes emotional and pleads with her not to leave him as he doesn't know how he will survive without her. A few weeks later, Satya passes away, and the family gathers together to cremate her remains. Satya's passing affects the family for months, and they even consider the idea of leaving Husnabad. Dev becomes so engulfed in his work when Anand and one of his closest workers come visit him. They try talking him out of publishing the article, which is making the blacksmiths revolt especially, as Abdul's party is getting stronger, but he won't listen to them. On their way out, one of the men sees Rup. He shares his fears concerning the article as it may end up provoking the blacksmiths to burn them alive. Rup attempts to speak with him, but she notices that the reason for his behavior is that he has yet to get over the loss of his wife. So she quietly leaves him alone. Dev is drowning himself in alcohol out in the city when his estranged stepbrother comes to meet him. Zafar shares the story of his love interest in a married woman and encourages Dev to share his story as well. The duo converses and shares what seems like sibling time for a little moment while it lasts. After that night, Zafar and Dev become closer, as Zafar takes him on a tour into the world he grew up in. Balraj meets his daughter-in-law and requests that she take up her responsibilities in the household. He informs her that Dev has been spending many nights outside their home, and he can't let all Satya have work to go down the drain. Rup confesses that she cannot take over Satya's role, as her relationship with Dev is like a debt that must be repaid and not redeemed. Rup visits Hira Mandi just when the residents are celebrating an Islamic holiday. She finds Zafar dancing in the crowd, and on a second look she spots Dev close to him. Her smile suddenly fades as both men turn to face her. Dev innocently walks over to meet her and asks that they leave. On the ride home, he apologizes for his behavior towards her in the past year, and he is willing to accept and respect whatever decision she makes on them having a divorce or giving their relationship a second chance. Meanwhile, at Bahar's court, she's taken by surprise at seeing Balraj right in front of her door. She dismisses her girls as he walks in to meet her inside. He accuses her of attempting to destroy his family with her son and blames her for refusing to abort Zafar out of her selfish desires. The duo blames each other, and Bahar expresses her betrayal. While shifting the blame between themselves, Zafar walks in. Unknown to them, he has come to visit his mother, and right before him is his father. His parents are stunned to find him there listening to their conversation. Balraj approaches Zafar and sternly warns him to stay away from his family and Dev's marriage. The father and son confront each other, and Zafar realizes that Rup was right when she said one will feel like a failure when the failure of others makes them happy. He had always wanted to see his father frustrated, but after seeing the man right now, his desire has died. Zafar blames him for forgetting to give Dev love in his attempt to shield him from the world. He makes a promise to leave them alone if Balraj gives him Rup because he is deeply in love with her. Balraj becomes enraged and slaps Zafar. His actions cause a further rift between them as Zafar attempts to strangle him, if not for the help of Bahar. He gives his father a warning and promises to cause more damage if he doesn't get Rup. He walks out on both of them in annoyance. On his way home, he gets attacked by some masked men. Zafar beats them all up while Abdul, who is watching from a few blocks away, quietly steps aside to avoid being seen. Later that night, Zafar is cleaning up his wounds and Abdul walks into his room, pretending to be surprised about the injury. He plays a mind game with Zafar while gaslighting him to believe that Rup and her family are responsible for what happened to him. Abdul goes as far as promising to take his revenge from Rup, but Zafar stops him and promises to chop off not only his head, but that of his relations if he touches her. Bahar goes to visit Rup at the Shohri mansion. She breaks her vow to never step into Balraj's home because she needs to see Rup even though it's a rainy night. She reveals Zafar's paternity to Rup and discourages her to continue loving him blindly. She reveals that he's out to publicly humiliate Balraj and that his meeting her was all part of his plan. She dissuades Rup from thinking she's Zafar's love as she's only a tool for his vengeance on his father. Rup let her tears fall as she listens to Bahar admonishing her to channel her love on someone else who would truly love and respect her. At Hira Mandi, Abdul blames Zafar for entangling him in political turmoil all these years just because he wants to win his family feud. He promises to burn down the city with the fire Zafar ignited in him, such that he will be unable to stop what he started. Bahar cries her eyes out in her chambers. She confides in one of the girls who is close to her and reveals that she needs to tell that lie to Rup to keep Zafar safe. It doesn't matter to her if he hates her a little more than he does already. Balraj's bags are already packed up to leave Husnabad. He informs Dev of his brother's name, as he's the person he had met on the night of Eid. He pleads for Dev's forgiveness for being unable to admit his mistakes, and then takes his leave. The night turns out to be a long and devastating one for everyone concerned. After thoroughly thinking about all the recent happenings, Rup makes a decision, and she walks into Dev's room to inform him of her decision to give their marriage a second chance. For the first time since their marriage, the couple consummate their relationship. Meanwhile, Zafar receives some information from his mother's right-hand girl, which prompts him to run down to the Shohri home inside the heavy downpour. He climbs through the fence and runs into the compound to find Rup standing on the balcony while the rain pours down on her. They stare at each other as she lets her tears fall and get mixed in the rain. He can see the disappointment in her eyes. He continues staring at her until she turns her back and enters the house crying her heart out. After leaving there, he heads straight for his mother's court and finds her dancing to her melody. He grabs her neck, but his strength fails him. Zafar bursts into tears in the arms of his mother, while the other court girls watch the emotional moment between the mother and son. The next day arrives with news for the blacksmith of Hira Mandi. Zafar wakes up in his mother's court. He steps out into the town, only to find women running helter-skelter as the men wave their blades and come out in masses looking prepared for a fight. The news of the opening of the first steel factory in Husnabad spreads like wildfire, and the townsmen are not taking it easy as they prepare for a war. At the Shohri home, Dev and his wife are having breakfast silently. Rup breaks the silence, revealing that she has fallen in love with someone from Hira Mandi. She feels the need to tell him the truth since they have decided to commit to their marriage. Dev isn't mad at her as he played a role in pushing her out. He leaves the decision to her if she wants their relationship to be bound by love or respect. The revolt at Hira Mandi is getting fiercer as the city's men set the town ablaze. Abdul comes face to face with Zafar and asks him to choose his side, as anyone who's not with them is an enemy. That evening, the rioters takes the protest to the Shohri mansion. They throw stones and objects through the glass windows while Dev stands, watching them from one of the windows. Rup is going around the house in search of the housekeeper when she encounters Zafar. He apologizes for his misdeeds and tries to convince her that their love is not meant to be. Rup embraces him as tears flow down her cheek. She requests that he profess love to her at least once and honestly tell her if he ever loved her. At the Shohri newspaper office, the rioters succeed in gaining entrance and even causing damage. Dev and a few of his staff try to escape, but they are already surrounded by the mob. Abdul takes the lead in eliminating Dev's workers, and just as he's about to get a hold of Dev, Zafar and Rup come to his rescue. They carry Dev along with them on a carriage, and Abdul gives the order for the three of them to be slayed. Zafar takes them to his mother's brothel, hoping they will find shelter there. But Bahar informs him that her place is not safe either, as the mobs are going into Muslim homes in search of Hindus. She advises him to take his brother and Rup to the station, as she can't abandon her Hindu girls and come with them. Abdul spots them running out and sends some men after them. The trio runs to a train station, but the station is crowded with men and women who are attempting to flee the city. Zafar tells them to get on the train while he stays back to stop Abdul and his men, who are fast approaching them. The train starts moving as people are clamoring to get on board. After much struggle, Dev and Rup get on the train, while Zafar stays to fight off Abdul's men. Rup calls out to him to join them on the train. She almost falls off as her arm is outstretched for Zafar to hold on to. Thankfully, Dev pulls her other hand while watching the passion she uses in calling out to Zafar. Zafar races to meet Rup on the moving train, but soon gets stopped as Abdul pounces on him and stabs him multiple times. Zafar falls to the ground as his eyes close slowly. He tries to keep his eyes fixed on Rup, who looks frightened. The next morning, Dev and Rup arrive in Amritsar. They alight from the train and find their way to Dev's father. From there, they rebuild their lives, carrying on the lessons learned from the mistakes they've made and the ways it affected their lives and the lives of those they loved.